In today's true crime video, we look at the concept of self-defense. It's a legal concept that generates a lot of argument between members of the public and even in a court of law. The concept is complicated, or at least it can be, and the law on it varies widely from place to place, with the very basic idea that a person has the right to use reasonable force to prevent themselves from being assaulted or killed. You would think that would be so basic as to be really simple, but it's not. A recent case out of Ohio shows how intricate the defense can be, and really shows the difference in how the defense is applied in different places at different times. Imagine you're a juror trying to decide whether, in this case, self-defense should set the accused free. Let's get into it. Something went terribly wrong at the Kentucky Fried Chicken on Harrisburg Pike at Zettler Center Drive in Columbus, Ohio, in the evening of April 9th, 2021. Police were called to the fast food location after reports of a shooting just before 7 p.m. The KFC is next to a strip mall, and there's a Burger King at one end of that mall. Bria Henslee, who was 21 at the time, was driving in the parking lot of the strip mall in the direction of the Burger King when she hit a parked vehicle. Then she nearly clipped a van that Michaela Ellis, Alex Mulligan, and Caitlin Ross were getting into. They were near the Burger King, and they were pretty unhappy about this development. A fifth person, Sierra Carter, saw what was happening and followed Henslee's vehicle through the parking lot and into the KFC parking lot. Carter used her Jeep to block Henslee from leaving. Instead of de-escalating the situation, Henslee got out of her vehicle and kicked Carter's door. She then got back into her car. In the meantime, the van carrying Ellis, Mulligan, and Ross pulled up. The confrontation was caught on a surveillance camera from across the street. Unfortunately, the video is not only at a distance, but it's grainy and very low definition. Henslee would say it shows Ellis pointing a gun at her. Prosecutors would say that it does not. Whether Ellis was pointing a gun or not would make all of the difference. Henslee backed up a couple of times, then drove forward, as seen on the video, perhaps trying to intimidate Carter to move her Jeep. Prosecutors would tell the jury that Henslee, in addition to moving back and forth, gunned her vehicle as if to hit the Jeep that was blocking her or the people that were in her way. Meanwhile, Ellis and Mulligan got out of the van. Both of them had guns in their hands. Ellis was holding her gun like a hammer by the barrel, prosecutors would say. An argument ensued. Henslee got back into her car, backed it up once more, and then accelerated. She aimed at the car at Ellis, jumped a curb into the drive-thru at the KFC, and pinned Ellis between her car and the building. She then fled the scene. After Ellis was hit, Mulligan emptied his revolver, which is what prompted the report of a shooting that police responded to. Bullet holes were found in Henslee's car later, but Henslee was not hit, and Mulligan would be charged with possession of a weapon by a felon. Ellis was transported to Ohio Health Grant Medical Center and pronounced dead just before 7:30. It would be the 55th homicide in Columbus in 2021. Henslee was later located at her home. When Columbus police arrested her, she kicked one of the officers in the stomach. She was charged with 2 counts of murder and a count of assault. The question for the jury was whether or not Henslee was acting in self-defense when she ran over Ellis. Was Ellis pointing a gun at her? Or was this murder by a woman who was angry after being called out for being intoxicated and then blocked in? Franklin County Assistant Prosecutor Jeff Zazek started out telling the jury that the facts of the case were ugly. Quote, "The ugly truth we're going to start off with is that at the time that Ellis was crushed into the side of the building by Bria Henslee, Ellis had a gun. We're owning that. She had a gun." End quote. But Ellis also had her back turned to Henslee and was trying to get away when she was hit by Henslee's car, the prosecutor said. Henslee's defense lawyers would tell the jury that 2 different witnesses saw Ellis point her gun at Henslee. It was self-defense, they said. The jury agreed with Henslee's lawyers and acquitted her of both murder charges. She was found guilty of assault for kicking the police officer during the arrest, and she was sentenced or scheduled to be sentenced in July of 2023. And she remained on bond in the meantime. Her lawyers did say that they would appeal the conviction of assault on a police officer, asserting that Henslee barely tapped the officer. Ohio changed its self-defense laws in 2019. Before 2019, there was a duty on a person to retreat if they could do so. And that's the case in a lot of places where self-defense is available. They also bore a burden at trial to show that they acted in self-defense. After 2019, Ohio shifted that burden. That means that the prosecution has to show, beyond a reasonable doubt, that the person was not acting in self-defense. The defendant does not have to show anything. Ohio also removed any duty to retreat if you are in your house or in your vehicle. According to James D. Owen, who was a defense lawyer in Columbus, an essential element of a self-defense claim is that the defendant did not create this situation. So, did Henslee become the first aggressor when she nearly clipped a vehicle that Ellis was getting into? The defendant also has to believe that she was in imminent danger of death or great bodily harm. If Ellis had her back turned and was leaving, was Henslee's claim that she feared death or great bodily harm a reasonable one? Was crushing Ellis against the building more than reasonable force, or was it justified in the circumstances? The jury in this case took almost 2 days to decide whether this was a self-defense case, and that shows you just how difficult it can be for juries to decide the vital questions in complicated areas of the law. And now it will be up to prosecutors to decide whether or not they will appeal the acquittals. But what do you think? If you were a juror, were you voting self-defense on these facts? If you enjoyed this video, give us a like, and if you want to see more, like it. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next Thursday with another true crime video. Until then, take care.